All right, we are joined by Charisma Osborne. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function and I will call on you.
Hey.
Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah, Christmas, Michelle Vopel from ESPN.com. Congrats on this game. I was watching your interview on the Pac-12 network talking about how important it was for you guys to be physical in this game. And that can be sort of a cliche word, but I felt like that was so big tonight, how you guys were on the boards and how aggressive you were. Was this a matter of just taking everything you learned from the previous meeting and applying it?
Yeah, Stanford's a great team, and we know that they have really good rebounders. So that was one of our main focuses, just being physical and getting those boards. And we have certain percentages that we want of offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. So it was just important for us to box out and be physical with them so that they don't get second chances.
And I guess if I could follow up, can you just talk about your game? I know that's not something you do a lot, but I just felt like you really, you were just on it tonight. Can you just talk about individually how you felt in this game, especially this being a rematch against Stanford?
Yeah, I know last time I played Stanford, I got in my head a lot and I didn't play my best. So I know I wanted to come out in this game and really just play freely and just play how I play. And credit to my teammates for giving me a pep talk before the game when we were getting ready and just telling me that no one can guard me and just giving me a lot of confidence. And I've really been just working on earning confidence in practice, and credit to my coaches for just trusting me to shoot those shots and make those shots.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Haley?
Hi, how did this game kind of show what kind of pressure your team can withstand and maybe even thrive on?
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about how we don't have a lot of players and there's only 8 or 9 of us. And we don't really worry about that. Like, yeah, we know that there's a short bench and stuff, but I think that we just focus on the game plan and focus on what our strengths are and trying to take away the strengths of the other team. But I'm just really proud of how my team played and how everyone came out and just was so tough.
John?
Hey, Charisma, congrats on the win. Can you talk a little bit about the third quarter after Michaela went out with that injury, was out for like 4 minutes? You kind of stepped up. I think you scored 7 points, including that 3 where you came off and were celebrating. Can you kind of talk about what you were going through in that third quarter after Michaela went out?
Yeah, we all know Michaela is one of the best, in my opinion, the best player in the country, but definitely the best player on our team. And not just me, everyone knows that once Michaela's out, like everyone has to be ready to step up. And my teammates were good with giving me good screens, and just me reading the defense was very helpful. But shout out to my teammates for just executing the plays and getting me open.
Sue, go ahead.
Hey, Charisma. Congrats. There was a moment at the end there where you and Michaela kind of looked at each other for a minute, and you were like this, and then all of a sudden you just kind of both calmed down at the same time, and then turned back to the bench. How much was mental acuity a part of this win tonight, and staying focused mentally down the stretch?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we talk about neutral thinking all the time. And everyone on the team has each other's backs. Like, I can tell when Michaela's frustrated, Michaela can tell when I'm frustrated. So whenever we are feeling like that, we all have a certain plan to get us to calm down. And we always have each other's backs. And we knew that today was going to be a tough matchup, and it was going to be more than just physical. It was going to be mentally as well. So just going back to neutral thinking was very helpful.
And then just a really quick follow-up. It seems like you guys are getting better at playing with like whoever happens to be available. It made a difference to you guys. Do you feel like you're better at just all the moving pieces and handling that?
Yeah, this year we started a new offense. We started doing 5 out, which has been pretty tough because there's so many different reads and stuff. But as we're getting going in the season, I think that we've been able to just rely on each other and really try to figure out what each person likes. Depending on who's playing, everyone knows each other's strengths. So I think just continuing to get each other open and getting good shots will keep us pushing along the way.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Charisma.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right, we are joined by Emily Bessoir. If you have any questions, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call on you. Michelle.
Yeah, Emily, congrats on the game tonight. Can you just talk about how big? I mean, you just look at the stats and rebounding. It was such a huge factor tonight. And I think you ended up with 9 boards. Can you just talk about how big of an emphasis that was going into the game?
Yeah, thank you. It was a huge emphasis. I mean, in the last game we played against Stanford, they out-rebounded us by 14 rebounds. So that was a big emphasis. And also for me personally, we've been watching film for me to like get in a better position and box out more. And I think we all just stepped up in that. And it was a great effort like from all of us to get those offensive boards. And I just looked at this, like me and Coach Corey just looked at the stats, and I think we out-rebounded them by 12. So that was a huge part that led us to win.
That, you mentioned that, I guess watching film and stuff. I mean, they're a big team. I mean, they're tall, and yet you were able to, was a lot of this, was it just the want to with rebounding? Was it you guys were doing a better job boxing out? How do you attribute that to beating them that badly on the boards?
Yeah, that's true. They're a lot bigger than we are in general. But I believe it's the physicality and also toughness. But also, like, for example, Meg, she tracks the ball so well. And just knowing where the ball is going to fall off and getting in that position, I think that can out-rebound anybody that's taller, just to get that first step and to be physical and tough enough. But I believe that rebounding is always like a mental thing. Like you can always go to the rebound and always box out.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Haley.
Hi, with the fourth quarter being as close as it was, what were you and your teammates just like telling each other throughout that quarter?
We've been working a lot on our mental side, so staying neutral and just acknowledging the facts, but also knowing the next step. So that's what we basically talked about, to stay locked in, stay neutral, stay composed. And I believe that's a huge deal in success, just to be able to stay neutral and not give too much energy to things that have happened, but look forward.
Gavin.
Hi, congrats on the win. Since the last time you guys played Stanford, you've now won 4 in a row, including 3 straight against ranked teams. Is it fair to call that last loss against Stanford like a turning point in the season? And if so, what do you think has changed the most about your team since that loss?
First, thank you. And yeah, I believe when we played Stanford at the end of last year, we knew, like after watching the game again and just throughout the game, we saw that we were able to compete with them and to beat them. And that was a big wake-up call and for everybody, because we knew at that time they were still ranked #1. We were in our heads, we were like, yeah, we can beat them, we can compete with them. So I believe just taking that pain, I'll call it, from the loss, to be more disciplined in practice and to work more on the mental side, but also on the court. I believe that was a wake-up call. Yeah.
All right, any more questions for Emily? All right, thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you.
All All right, we are joined by head coach Corey Close. Coach, would you like to start with an opening statement?
My opening statement is that after they beat us at our place, we said we aren't the toughest team in the Pac-12, and we're not leaning into the hard enough. And if we don't become the toughest, most together team, nothing's going to change. You're not going to get over the hump with these hard games. And they were on a quest from that time on to become, day by day, rep by rep, the most toughest, most together team. And I thought that was the difference tonight. And, we were out-rebounded by 14 at our place, and we out-rebounded them by 13 tonight. I think that was a major indicator of some of our toughness. And all of our kids who had career highs in rebounding were huge. And so I'm really, really proud of the growth in that area. The second thing that I would say is that I just think in selflessness. And I was talking to Mary Murphy, the talent earlier today, and she said, do you have any kids that it makes it hard that Riz and Charisma and Michaela get to get all the shots? And do you have other kids that are struggling in their roles? And I sort of chuckled because I never have to think about that ever, because everyone on our team knows it's not about me, it's about us. And I just thought there was so much selflessness on display tonight that fueled us, and that was the difference in the game. Our toughness, togetherness, and our selflessness to be able to play whatever roles needed, whether it's your night or not. How can you help the team possession by possession? So that's what I'm most proud of, those things.
Awesome. If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand and I will call on you. Michelle.
Yeah, Coach Close, congrats on the win. I remember being on the Zoom after that other game, and you said these things like, this is what we have to do. It's one thing to say that, it's another thing to put it into practice, especially when like Michaela may have a little bit of a tough night shooting and yet does the job on the boards. Is this a matter of just they're really buying into exactly what you're telling them? Because it's one thing to say be tough, but we just saw it play out over 40 minutes.
Well, yeah. And I think you hit it. I was really frustrated in this early December. I just didn't feel like we were responding with our actions as quickly as we could. And, but I'll tell you, I really need to give credit to our video team and our assistant coaches. The film and the hard teaching and the teaching has been relentless. I just have spectacular staff, and I think they have gone one-on-one and been like, okay, this is the actions I need to see. This is the response I need to see. And we're going to teach you and equip you, but you got to respond. And they have just spent relentless amount of hours in individual film, individual workouts, challenging them. And I really think that one-on-one attention and skill development, but also accountability has been really huge, turning it from empty words to noticeable actions. And you hit it, Michelle. That is the difference. And we stopped talking about it and we started being about it.
Can you also just, I guess, reflect on Charisma's game? Because it just seemed like she made big play after big play, both offensively and defensively tonight.
Yeah, and I do want to go back a little bit to Michaela, is that, she had 16 and 10, and it felt like 2, because it was not a characteristic night for her. And I think her setting the tone all the time of what it takes to prepare and play hard night in and night out, make it about the team, and being Charisma's roommate, and her Charisma watching that every day sets Charisma up, along with Charisma's work and work ethic. But that has set the tone for Charisma's rise, is Michaela's example. And but I'll tell you, Charisma, I watched film with her last night when we got to the hotel one-on-one, and just was like, when is it going to be time for, on both sides of the ball, for you to be the best guard on the floor, show me your defense for 40 minutes. Show me that you know how to run a team. Show me that you can stay composed through the ups and downs of the game. And I just told her, you haven't done it yet. And you can, but you have to decide now. And boy, did she decide. And I just hugged her so tight after the game, and just was like, look, you You did it. You lived it. You earned the confidence now of what it means to be an elite player in big games on both sides of the ball, on the road. And I can't give you that confidence. You got to earn it, but you sure earned a whole lot of confidence tonight.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Doug?
Hey, Corey, good to see you. Congrats
Good
on
to
the
see
win.
you too, Doug.
So everything you discussed at the beginning in your opening statement is, to me, not basketball things. You can't fix those on the court. I mean, you can do any drill you want, but if they're not tough, you can't really change that. You can't change rebounding in a sense. Like, what do you think it was that, 27 rebounding differential between last game and this game, that says a lot about your players, unless you have some magic thing I don't know about as far as how to get rebounding to change like that.
Well, it's so interesting, Doug, because we can't even practice rebounding. We only have usually 4 players on any given day that can practice. Michaela barely is practicing. Chantel hasn't been practicing until the last week, and she has on a minute restriction. Literally, it has been my most challenging time. I've really thought a lot, and this may sound very silly, but I've been thinking about the teachers that have been forced to all this Zoom learn. I'm like, I gotta be like them. I gotta be a better teacher. I can't control that I don't have people to practice. I can't control that I don't have scout guys. I can't control that we can't even play 5-on-5 on most days. We cannot do it. And I've played more 3-on-3 games than I've ever known what to do with. But I've been forced to learn to use film differently. I've been forced to say, okay, how are you holding yourself accountable? Like, we have a goal to get a rebound every 4 minutes of play, and our elite readers one rebound every 3 minutes of play. And really we grade rebounding after every game, and they watch it and grade themselves, and we come back. The list is endless, and hardly any of them have to do with practicing. We're just not in that position this year. The cards are not in our favor for having, I think pretty much Emily and Natalie have been the only ones that have been practicing every day. So I think, Doug, I've actually really gotten a lot of inspiration from the teachers all around the country that I just have to I told our staff, call who you need to call your friend in coaching, whatever it takes, learn who you need to, because we can't do what we've traditionally done. So it's going to happen differently. And that's why I'm so thankful, because the players have been willing to do crazy, different things. And I also think we've made an absolute commitment to mental training. It's way back starting in April. And we were like, we can't train physically. We were one of the last teams to be able to get together September 21st. And so, then we're going to learn how to train mentally. And so we've done a whole series of things that commit on that level. That's the only thing I can trace it to, because it sure isn't because of rebounding drills, because we haven't been able to do them.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Sue?
Well, hello there. Congratulations, Corey Close.
Thank you, Sue.
I noticed 3 things at the end that I thought I wanted to ask you about. One was they were going for a rebound. Michaela was in there and went and finally got it. And the commentator said, that's one thing about UCLA. They never give up on a play. They never give up on a play. And then I saw Michaela and Charisma start to get really excited. And then they looked at each other, and all of a sudden they turned back and they were calm again. And then I saw, that they can just seem to play with whoever's in the lineup tonight. It wasn't Cameron and it was Chantel. And I'm just wondering how much of that is coming from you guys? How much of that is them? And then where do you guys take all that and go to next? What's the next step?
I think it's to stay focused on what got us here. Is to not, I challenged him in the locker room after the game that, we have said that we are going to fall in love with the process of what it takes to become great. And there's going to be a lot of temptation that you start to listen to all the people that want to text you or get on social media. And those people don't know. Those people, no offense, we're appreciative and we want to enjoy our progress. But I said, this is when the real mental focus has to happen. Is what is it that got you here? And we've said all year that we're going to focus on 2 things, growth and joy. That there's so many hard things right now. There's so many struggles that we have dealt with. And I think most teams are dealing with some sort. It's just a different form. And that if we could stay focused on you can count on me to grow as a coach and as a player. You can count on me to grow, and you can count on me to bring energy and joy to this experience, whatever that looks like. And what I reminded them in the locker room is that's not going to change, and it starts with this, and then it translates outwardly. But I think it's really now has really got to be controlling the noise and staying focused on what has got us, what we've earned, and not be disciplined enough to not stray from that.
Gavin?
Hey, Coach, congratulations. I know you already spoke a little bit about Michaela, but first off, what exactly was her injury there in the third? And then secondly, just talk a little bit about how she was able to come back from not only the injury, but also a 3 of 16 start from the field and have such a big fourth quarter, scoring, 8 of the team's last 11 points.
Well, that's who Michaela is, right? I mean, you just can count on what she's going to bring no matter her circumstance, right? And it's just never about Michaela. And that's what she's just such a joy to be around. And she's such a culture builder that because that's what we always talk about in our 3 core values in our program are gratitude, being a lifestyle giver, and a growth mindset. And that's what you see in her. And so when your best player exemplifies that, it just makes your culture and your behaviors go deeper and more consistent. And I don't know for sure. I think she fell on her elbow, if I'm not, but I really don't know for sure. Nobody's talked to me about what it was in the fourth quarter, but I've sort of just come to know that whatever it is, she spent a lot of time on the floor. She's airborne so much in her game that she's vulnerable. So, which is a bummer. I've tried to really talk to our officiating about that because it's really dangerous for her in some ways. But I just know that she knows how to get back up. And the reality is she's so tough and so other-centered that she just is always going to find a way. And just really proud of what she did.
Michelle?
Yeah, Coach. I think coaches will often say if there's a silver lining to having little depth, it's that you develop cohesion maybe a little bit better, and your rotations. Players know, and there's no hook
You have to be
here in some ways.
responsible.
Is that, have you sort of turned that into a silver lining of your season? Have you been sort of forced to?
On a normal year, I would say yes, because I actually really like that rotation on a normal year. If you have a chance to train and prepare in a healthy, gradual manner, where you're really able to build a base and go from there. We just weren't in that position this year. So we've been putting Band-Aids and catch up. And I would say normally, yes, if we could practice, but we never practice with the people we play in games with. And it really is what makes what they're doing even that much more remarkable. But I do normally like that, Michelle, that they, you just got to be counted on. And I do think that part is showing up. Like there's no one else. You can't look and go, well, if I have a bad night, someone else might pick it up. Well, guess what? There's no one else to put in. So you better be ready to be show up and be counted on the things under your control. So like the rebounding, those kinds of things. Whether we shoot great or not, that's a different story. But I still don't think we have great offensive chemistry and flow on a consistent basis. That's actually a really frustrating part for me as a coach. And our defensive coaches, Asha and Shannon, have been way better coaches than me. I'm supposed to be an offensive coach, and I don't think we're even close. I've told a lot of people, I can guarantee you we're not going to peak early. I can guarantee you that, because our offense is not where it needs to be yet. And I don't think we found that rhythm and cohesion on a consistent basis. I think we've made some steps, but I still think we have a long way to go. But I don't know why. I mean, I think that you have to trace it to toughness and selflessness, because it isn't what we're working on in practice, because it's different every day. I always have to have a plan A practice plan and plan B after I talk to the trainers. So, and that's just what we have to do. So, we're just going to do the best. The silver lining is that they keep finding ways despite their coaches.
And I just had one other thing with Emily. I don't know if I'm exactly right on these stats, but I think that's her season high of rebounds.
It is.
And it seemed like overall probably one of the best games she's played, especially when you consider it's against Stanford.
Yeah.
Can you sort of reflect on that, especially as young a kid as she is, to
Yeah.
have a game like
She's
that?
really skilled, and her basketball IQ is spectacular. She's just been great. She played really well against Stanford last game too. I think she had, I can't remember how many points she had, but maybe 18 or. But she really played well against them. Her and Michaela were the only two double-digit scorers in the first game versus Stanford, and so I think she had some good confidence going in that she was going to force them to have some rotations. And so offensively, she played well last time, but this time defensively, she did much, much better. And even when she switched out on some of the guards and had to control some of the backdoor cuts, I thought she was much improved from a defense and rebounding perspective. But, and I was just doing video with her for our donors, and I was like, and guess what? You get to have another freshman year next year. Woohoo. I'm really excited for who she's going to become. I think she's going to be a really, really good player in this program and in this country, and really excited for how she's growing. She's such a sweetheart of a kid too. And this has been hard for her, being the only one for a long time, as we've been having to fight to get our Aussies into the country, and we still don't have this. It's been lonely sometimes. It's been difficult. And I think her teammates have done a great job, but she's had to be really, really strong and tough. And she has really stepped up, and I'm really glad she's a Bruin.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet.
Any more questions for Coach?
Well, I just really want to say, so many of you on this call, appreciate you being on it. But you have done so much for our game, and we just need you to continue to do that and tell these stories. And, this is a really important year from a digital perspective, because, there's nobody has butts in the seats. So what you're doing for our game is making the difference. So thank you so much for being here. And I would have said that win or lose, we need you and we appreciate you. So thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach.